Welcome to Stars and Stripes. Our flag is the symbol of freedom and justice for all. Many brave Americans fought and died for this freedom. America was founded on Judeo-Christian principles. When we allow our Constitution to be destroyed and God is taken out of America, there is and can be no freedom.
Welcome to Stars and Stripes. I'm your host, Pastor Ken Jones. We're here with Michael Karachun on part 5 of our issues concerning our nation and the things that are occurring in our world today. Thank you for watching us. And now, Mr. Karachun, how are you today, sir? And welcome to Stars and Stripes.
Well, good morning. Thank you for having me again, and it's a pleasure to be here. And I guess we ought to get to it. I know in the first 4 parts, people really need to see that because we covered a lot of ground, which we can't rehash. We don't have enough time. So this will be all newer stuff here.
Well, I want to talk to people. I want you to talk to them about this coal industry and tell us what's going on with our energy, because we're looking at sources of energy, green energy, fossil fuel energy. Tell us a little bit about what the coal industry is doing.
Well, the coal industry provides approximately 40% of our power supply in the United States, and provides a lot of jobs. You know, and I mean by provides a lot of jobs. There's 18-wheelers that haul coal, and then you look at the long train loads of coal, how much there is there. And they say that the coal is really very, very, very dirty, but they've cleaned it up a lot, and it's not like it used to be. I mean, people still got the idea of way back 50, 60, 70 years ago. Now then, here's the thing. Everybody says we're going to go nuclear to replace the coal. That's about the biggest foolishness I've ever seen. They have not, and I worked in the nuclear industry, so I know, they're having terrible storage problems. Some of this nuclear waste lasts 10,000 years, a half-life of 10,000 years. Well, listen, if it can kill you 100 times over now, 10,000 years from now means it can only kill you 50 times over. Then 10,000 years after that, it can only kill you 25 times over. And then 10,000 years after that, I don't think any of us have to even worry about the first 10,000 years, do you?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so. They have had underground fires in some of the storage facility places. I forgot the states now. I wasn't planning on getting into all this detail. They can't put the fires out. The radiation is leaking out through the vents. If you look at the radiation spikes across the country, it's not all coming from Fukushima. And now look at the 2 major events we've had, Fukushima and then the ones to Chernobyl. Fukushima is poisoning the whole Pacific Ocean. Life is dying out there, not just from the radiation, but I mean the whole ocean is just about dead. And you start looking at the radiation that's coming into, that's being carried by the jet stream and everything. Nuclear is not the way to go. There's a lot of other energy sources out here. In the wind industry, they got the 3-blade wind industry thing. If you want to find out really about that, talk to Dr. McCanney, a scientist, an astrophysicist. He'll tell you how that's a joke, the wind industry. These machines, the industry promoting them, the machines don't work. Most of the time you travel anywhere, you see they're turned off. There's a rebellion against the wind industry throughout the world. Well, the reason why these people put them up, when you see how the government spends our money, once those things are put up, it doesn't matter whether they're running or not, you're going to get $500,000 a year. And then all the tax breaks to build them. So it's a big money going thing. They don't produce any real power to amount to anything. I don't care what they advertise on TV. You look it up. Now, there are wind type machines that can be built that are extremely economical that really do work. But you don't find them on the marketplace because they really work. Just call up and speak with scientist Dr. McCanney. One of his plans for wind machines, he's actually had to put out on the internet because he couldn't get any governments to want to build them. And plus the fact of the matter, as soon as they found out it worked, they'd kill all his funding. So now that's free information out there for anybody to build whatever they want to. And now some governments around the world are picking up on it. Now, why isn't our government picking up on it? They know about it, but they won't do it. Okay? Now then, you look at the green energy thing, you have to look and see how many solar panels it takes, how efficient they are, and all of a sudden you find out it's very expensive energy. Now, I'm not against solar, and it's very clean, but you know what? The sun doesn't shine 24 hours a day. There's a whole lot that goes with solar. You have to have huge storage capacity units to have it work 24 hours a day.
Right.
How about those parts of the country where it's darkness for a lot of hours? You go further north, you got less light. So solar is good as far as it goes, but then you have to look at the cost efficiency again. So now, what are we back at? We're back at coal again. Coal is really the most economical way to go. It provides all these jobs. You don't have storage problems with waste like you do with nuclear. And it's here. We've got huge, tremendous amounts of coal in this country. And so it provides the cheapest power that we can get until we come up with better alternatives such as fusion, for instance. And there's other things out there. There's what's known as free energy machines. Of course, the government doesn't want that out there because they don't want you. And by the way, this is old science. This is not some conspiracy theory stuff. The great scientist Tesla proved all this stuff out and actually built the equipment. And so it works. And all of his research and everything was suppressed. And he lost all his funding once they found out it worked. Do you think the energy industry wants you attaching a little box about this big to your house and from then on have free energy from the earth? Do you think they want you to stop paying utility bills? Do you think this? Of course they don't. They want you dependent upon whatever the government says you should be dependent upon. But until we get to that point, coal supplies 40%. Now then, the EPA, on orders from the White House, you got to understand this, and we've got a Congress, you got to see how the lobbyists work in Congress. Thinks, hey look, they're making $174,000 a year to work 126 days a year. That's what their income was back in 2013. Your congressman made $174,000 of income. 126 days now. And this ain't counting all their freebies. That's just their income. How many Americans out here like to make $174,000 in less than 6 months?
I would think that if you give them half, they'll be very happy.
I think they'd be happy. How many of you out there, judging by the performance of your Congress, thinks that any of them even deserve a third? And we ain't talking about all their haircuts. We ain't talking about the fact that they got a medical that you can't get, that they've got a retirement that you can't get, and we're not talking about how they've just cut the benefits to our military because those guys aren't worth it. Who cares if they lose their arms and legs and come back? They don't care, obviously. They don't care that they're cannon fodder on the battlefields of the world. Do you think they care? Look at the shows on television of the fallen soldiers. Here, give your money to buy arms and legs. Why should your taxpayer be doing that? Taxpayers already paying through the nose. These guys have earned their benefits. Tell me they haven't earned them.
They have earned them.
If an American person thinks they haven't earned them, I want you to do something, folks. Get out there and have somebody fire a .50 caliber shell next to your head one time. Just once. That's all it's going to take. One time. Then tell me these soldiers haven't earned their benefits. And they're hearing that gunfire every single day. Just to have one person do that one time. And then I've got to listen to people like Hillary and Obama and what they're talking about cutting all their benefits. I'm sick to my stomach of that whole bunch and the cover-up of Benghazi and all that bunch. And now we got the same talk going on in the energy. Now what's going to happen, folks, when 40% of our energy goes down the drain soon? Who are you going to be blaming for when you start having brownouts in the big cities? When all of a sudden on a cold winter day and there's snow out there and it's below zero and you're in your homes up north and you've got no heat, who are you going to blame? Huh? Well, I'll tell you, you ought to blame yourselves. Go look in the mirror. You don't want to educate yourselves on what's going on. When the time comes and the food trucks stop rolling and you can't go down to your supermarket to get food because the energy's not in the country to provide all the services, go look in the mirror. You can tell me all about Dancing with the Stars. You can tell me all about the football scores. You can tell me about all this trivial stuff, but you can't tell me one thing that's important concerning your politics in this country. It seems like the only time you get concerned is when all of a sudden you've got to start doing without. Well, you're going to start doing without sometime in the future if you don't get smart and put pressure on these politicians to keep their promises. I guarantee you, not one of your congressmen, one of your senators, or the White House is going to be without power and heat. I can promise you that. I can promise you not a single one of them is going to miss one of their 3 square meals. But you will. The economics of this country has gotten so bad that the beef herds are at the levels of the 1950s when the population was half of what it is now. Tell me, where do you think your food's supposed to be coming from? 40% of our vegetables come from California. This is another thing. I hope he asks me a question about that. It begins with HAARP. I'll let him ask that question.
What about your weather control system? Tell us, because the weather, the economy is dependent on the weather. Because if we got good crops, if we got good food, the economy is going to roll and it's going to go and affect everything as far as the economy goes. Because you're going to talk about it anyway. Tell us about the weather.
I just want to see people to see out here, there's no such thing as a coincidence. Everything is tied together just like this. You need to learn how to put all the pieces of the jigsaw puzzle together and see the big picture of what's going on in your country and the world. And if you're going to be lazy about doing this, you're not going to be able to see how everything comes together like this. And who are the puppet masters out here pulling the strings, putting all these pieces together? If you don't learn this, you're going to be paying a very terrible price in the future. Your children are going to be paying. Now, what is HARP? I have a hard time remembering what it's an acronym, and I always have a hard time remembering exactly what each letter is, so I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget. It stands for High Frequency Active Aurora Research Program. Well, you can forget the research program part. It's not a research program anymore. It is a fact of life. It is actually a weapon system. We are not the only ones that have the weapon system. The Chinese have it. The Russians have it. We have approximately 255 HARP stations around the world, down in Antarctica as well. They deny it, but anyone that's ever seen done a Google search, and you got a hold of it before Google went and airbrushed everything out. Well, by the way, Google does do that, folks. If they see something they don't want you to see, they airbrush it out. Look real close, you'll see. They're good for this. And at any rate, so what is it? What it is, this is another Tesla thing. Why don't you buy all the books on Tesla and learn everything that he did, and about the weapon systems that he said you could develop from this. Well, what HARP is, you can take certain radio frequency waves at the right frequency, and you can heat up the upper atmosphere. Now, this is one of the things you can do. Now, when you heat it up, you can direct energy where you want it to go, which you could direct the jet stream. You can move the jet stream about. Now then, by moving the jet stream about, you can form weather patterns. Now, that doesn't mean that they can make weather, but what they can do is they can enhance a weather. Let's say they could enhance and guide through the system. Let's just say that they could guide a hurricane up the East Coast to hit somewhere that was supposed to go out to sea and should have gone out to sea. Let's just say they could do that. By the way, I know of a case where they did do that. If you looked at the radar, you looked at the satellite images, you would have seen the airplanes flying through the air. Now, how does HAARP work? You've seen these super tankers with chemtrails coming out. Everything is not a contrail, it's a chemtrail. Now then, you can usually identify the chemtrails. A contrail usually will dissipate fairly fast or stay thin. Most of the time your chemical trails will spread out. They'll lace the sky. Depending upon what they put in the tankers, these huge airplane tankers, will determine what they're trying to do. They put certain chemicals out there if they want to form certain types of weather patterns. So now then you put the chemicals out where way you want it to go, what directions you want it to go. Then you take the HAARP radio frequency, you come down, aim it where you want it to go, you heat up the atmosphere that way. Now you can guide the storm. Now you can also intensify the storm. A storm that should have petered out doesn't peter out. Now I'll let you all figure out the rest of that one. Now let's just say you want to cause a drought. You can interrupt the weather pattern so the rain doesn't come. We have a lot of unnatural drought in this country. You notice how I said that, unnatural. Now then, let's just say you want to destroy crops in another area, intensify the rain. Have more rain there than what they normally get. We're going through a lot of that here where we are. Okay. By the way, this is not just going on here, it's going on around the world. A lot of people are complaining in a lot of countries. So this is a weapon. Now this is a very intense weapon. There you have ships at sea. In on this, you had the airplanes, like I said. There's also a huge satellite array. Huge satellite array. Very powerful satellites now. You can't believe the power these satellites have. Power. What they could do. You need to really search this out. They can do a whole lot more than just the weather control with these things. Matter of fact, when you understand it, you can actually use them to cause vibrations in the earth along fault lines. Just imagine of how you pulse the energy. That doesn't mean they can cause an earthquake. But let's say the conditions are right. And there's a lot more you can do with this energy. Just sit down and think about it. Just think about it. Now they've just announced their first laser system on ships. By the time the public finds out, by the way, believe me, the technology's gone way beyond that. So that's just a little thing on the HAARP. Okay, that's just barely skimming the surface. Now then, why is that important? I don't know of any nation that can live without food. If you damage the food supply, and you're the one in control of the food supply, are you in control of the nation?
Exactly. And this is one of the reasons why I wanted you to explain the fact that it affects our economy, the weather, anything that is controlled. The weather controls our food, controls our economy, controls the people.
Controls the people. Now people say this is all conspiracy theory. Well, there ain't no conspiracy theory about it. Look it up. There's been so much reported on this. If I was to print out all the material that's in on this, it's stacked this deep. You'd never read it in your lifetime. So why don't you just forget about the conspiracy theory junk? That just means you're too lazy to look up what's really going on out there. Okay? Sorry I'm hard on you folks. But you know I got to live in this country too. And all you lazy people are making it hard on people like me who knows what's going on. Because you won't do your job as informed citizens. Now then, if the powers to be were really serious about our welfare, why would they have over 1 million troops in this country that are foreign and mercenary? Why would they give work releases to about 250,000 Chinese troops here? They're working under a lot of them under the UN guide. Why would they be here? Why would this government be arming the police to the teeth like they're the military? And look at these. They got tanks now and things like that. And I was just reading where certain police departments around the country are saying, well, we're getting armed like this to be against the constitutionalists. Wait a minute, I thought the Constitution was the law of the land.
It is.
So now you got sheriff's departments, police departments saying around the country that, hey, we're officially lawbreakers. And what are you going to do about it? We got the tanks and the equipment. What are you going to do about it? I can show you the news release right now. I've got it right in there. So anybody says, well, more conspiracy junk. No, it's not. It's a news release. And there's the tank. The sheriff's department is standing right in front of it. I don't know what it's going to take for Americans to wake up out there. You got a group of people that don't like this country, and they don't like it being free, and they don't want you to have it. So at any rate, if you control the food, and look at what, and HARP has been used very heavily on the West Coast. You can actually look at how the HARP signatures have come. There are certain people reporting on the HARP signatures. They have bombarded the West Coast. And they also bombarded Texas for a while. You know, it's what's gone in Texas with the droughts and everything, right? Oh, yeah, you can see the HARP signature right there. Matter of fact, one weatherman made a mistake. He made a mistake in his weather report. I think I've still got it in there. And he accidentally showed in his weather report the HARP signatures. And he says, whoops, I forgot to cut off the HARP filter. That's so you, the public, couldn't see it. This was right on national TV, folks. So don't come to me with your conspiracy junk. That just tells me how dumb you are. You don't know what's going on. Don't expect me to even have any mercy for wanting to sit back, because I'm that tired of it. Get informed. Your lives depend upon it. Okay? So that's the food. That's the energy. If you take control of the energy, we've already discussed this about the executive orders taking control. You got control of the energy. You've got control of the food. You think you got control of the people.
True. They think, well, if the people do not rise up, as you would say, Mike, that we should take back our country. Take back the Constitution, let the Constitution be used according to the way God intended, and anything else that goes on, we should take advantage and use the Constitution for the people, by the people, that God is going to trump man's law.
Well, now I'm glad you keep mentioning the Constitution over and over. Guess what? Your wonderful Congress and the White House has told you. They have just approved the NAD Act. NAD Act again, the National Authorization Defense Act. Everybody knows that is an unconstitutional act. It wasn't even written constitutionally. It was just written by the president. And when they wrote it, they wouldn't even let Congress know everything that was in it. But let me tell you what is in it that people know about. They come and arrest you whenever they want to without charges. They could crash your door in,
right,
carry you off to any one of the internment camps that they have around the world.
Thank you.
You have disappeared off the face of the earth. Mm-hmm. Nobody knows where you are. And it has already been proven that they have torture chambers around the world. The Romanian government found out the CIA had a hidden torture chamber right below the streets in their city. I got this report there. It was in their newspapers. Won't find it in American newspapers. They were so enraged, they kicked the CIA out of their country and closed down the torture chambers. You as an American could have been in that torture chamber or one of the other hundreds they've got around the world where you could disappear to. Now, what's a free country, supposed to be a free country, doing having even one torture chamber? Even one. Since when can the Congress and the president tell you there's a constitutional free zone? People don't even understand what that means. They've said this now. They've announced it. Within 100 miles of the coastline of all the water bodies in this country, just run down the Pacific side, run down the Atlantic side, and go in 100 miles. They say that there is no Constitution. There is no Constitution. We are in my house right now, in a place where they say there's no Constitution, so therefore they can do whatever they want to do.
That's an unwritten law.
They have said that that's how. Now then, it's already been in court. Jesse Ventura took it to court because he got so tired of being harassed every time he went to an airport, an international airport, to go fly. They would harass him. That's what it would come to. He took it to court. Guess what the court said? The court said that such airports are no longer United States soil. When you go on one of these airports, you're not a United States citizen there anymore. They can do what you would. They could gun you down.
So this is under international law, so to speak?
Hey, this is what's been going on with all this NADSA, but the NSA and all this stuff. This is what's going on. If you go into one of these international airports, technically speaking, if they gun you down, you're not under U.S. law.
So in other words, the Constitution is not utilized in an international airport.
That's what Jesse Ventura found out. That's what the judge told him.
Well, folks, this is news to me.
You can call up Jesse Ventura. He went through it.
Well, you know what? It's good to know. Folks, we're going to have to continue this on part 6. Why? Because we're out of time. And we want to thank Mike for allowing us to come into his home and tell us all of these things that's going on. Because we really didn't know all of this, Mike. We have to continue. Folks, that's it. Thank you for joining us for Stars and Stripes. I've been your host, Pastor Ken Jones. Till next time, God bless you.
I trust you enjoyed today's program. Please contact your congressman and let him know you are displeased with our Constitution being butchered. More executive orders came forth in the last 4 years than ever before in American history. Remember to pray for America. Be strong and of good cheer. Remember, America is worth fighting and dying for, as is Jesus our Lord. Until next time, this is Kenneth T. Jones saying, so long, friends.